Welcome to another episode of High Proof Ashes. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason JB Smoke.
I am Duran. Still don't have a cool nickname.
We'll get there.
We got, it's one of them.
We'll get
things.
there eventually. And we're here to have a few smokes and a few bourbons, right?
Absolutely.
Duran, he's going to introduce us to our bourbons, but first, our cigar that we are starting with today is the Liga Privada H99, one of their latest additions. This is a hybrid leaf. I don't know a whole lot about it, but we're going to get into this. But tell us about our bourbons today, man.
So we've got two, right? So, we're sticking with the theme. So we've got one that's really inexpensive, right? That you can find every day, which tastes great, which is going to be the Wild Turkey 101.
Love it.
So it's one of my favorites. You can normally get this bottle that we've got here for under $25. It's 101 proof, if you can't tell by the title.
Yep.
And it's aged between 6 and 8 years. Then we've got one of my personal favorites, the Buzzard's Roost Cigar Rye.
Yes.
Which is virtually impossible to get. They only did 3 barrels of this. So the problem with that is
not 3 barrels.
Huh?
But this was like the third batch.
Yeah. So,
but more than 3 barrels.
No, I think from what I understand, I believe it was only like 3 barrels
really?
For each batch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But and I could be incorrect. We'll check it afterwards. If I'm wrong, we'll correct it. But
yeah,
pretty positive it's 3 barrels, right?
Wow, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, it's that serious. So, it's about 105 proof. I don't know the specific age on that one. It doesn't tell us. But if I remember correctly, it's at least 4 years, I believe. So
it's got to be as good as it is.
It's phenomenal.
I mean, it's got to be. It's better than a gem.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. It's a diamond.
Dude, it's phenomenal.
I mean, it's not even a diamond in the rough. It is a diamond.
So it being a cigar rye, right? Like you really get the notes of the cigar in there.
You get the smoke.
Yeah.
Right.
You get the smoke from it.
Very much the smokiness.
It's a phenomenal batch. So we hope that the next batch is just as good.
Right.
More stuff to come about that eventually.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's what we're drinking today. What else, man?
I mean, let's get started with this Liga Privada H99.
I'm with that. Definitely ready.
So this thing was released a year or 2 ago, and it actually has a sister, and that is the Liga Privada Anniversario. And typically the Anniversario at this point is an event-only cigar. So that meaning that Drew Estate puts on a lot of these little store events or whatever,
right?
And they bring several boxes of these Anniversarios, and you buy a certain number, you are able to buy a certain number of the Anniversarios. So like you buy 10 cigars, you can buy 1. You buy a box, you can buy 3. Whatever. And I want to say that they're priced similar to these, about $16 is retail. We've seen them much higher, but the H99 is in regular production, and just kind of out there at the retailers who that stock are able to stock the Liga brand. And unfortunately, not all of your stores are going to be able to stock the Liga brand. So our local store, OCL, the Coe Cigar Lounge, they don't meet the volume to be able to stock the Ligas, which is unfortunate, but I get it. The Liga is a very sought after cigar.
Right.
And they can't just send it out to every shop that wants it, because then, it would just be scarce everywhere.
So this is from Drew Estate.
Yes.
For those that don't know, this is their, what we would call their higher tier cigar, right? So Liga is probably the top of the Drew Estate line. Again, it's a phenomenal stick, right? Very sought after, like Jason said, really hard to find. And if you've ever had one, I don't think you forget it, right? Like
it's my favorite Liga.
Yeah, it's a medium to full body. I'd say closer to medium than full, but it's a full flavored cigar, right?
And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's not going to blow you away with so much strength that, you can't really taste much. It's just all strength. And so it's just a really, really good cigar.
Yeah. I think you're going to find that we are definitely again, Drew Estate fanboys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes,
we smoke a lot of Drew Estate. They have a lot of great cigars. So these are definitely at the top of my list for cigars that smoke well above their price range,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, so buying one of these at like 15, 16 bucks, which is really hard to do at this point, but if you can find it at $15 to $16, man, like you're really enjoying a great stick.
Yeah, 16,
at a great price point.
$16, $17 is really the going rate. That there are places that sell it for more than that, but you know that's the going rate. Really hard to find online, you know. So you kind of just got to scour your stores. Luckily, we have a really big, diverse group of people who travel, and so they go and visit lounges, and you know they call us up or send us pictures of, you know, hey, here's what I found in the lounge. You know, does anybody want anything? And you know that's really one of the great things about our group.
Absolutely.
You know, so this box here, the one that we're smoking from, Aaron, one of our friends, he was in, oh man, I want to say he was in Indianapolis or something, somewhere around there. And, you know, the guy had a box and it's a good price. And so I said, hey, pick him up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and yes, I have the box, but the box is really open to our whole group.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And this is something that we do.
We do it on a regular, right?
Right.
Like
we do it on the regular.
Yeah.
Yes. We will individually, we will buy whole boxes and we will share with each other and at cost.
Right.
You
No
know,
profit
and
for friends.
No, not
you
at all.
You buy it so that we all can enjoy
Yes.
the cigars that we're smoking.
Because every now and again, you just got to have an H99.
Dude, that's what we were talking about, right? Like, it had been a little bit for me. He was like, I got a box. And I was like, what do you mean you got a box? Like, okay, well then let's do that. Let's smoke an H99 on the podcast. Like, you know, it's hard to go wrong with an H99, man.
Yeah. So the plan this was not the plan.
No, not at all.
Walking in the door,
not at all.
And I saw them there, and I was like, dude, what if we do an H99? You know, and
I'm never going to complain about that.
I mean, you brought the cigar rye,
Yeah.
and so you're like, I want to smoke something good, and I said, well, it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Because I happened to notice my H99s, and that would go great with cigar rye.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so it goes well with the 101.
Right? All right.
I mean,
so what are your thoughts on the 101 up to this point?
You know, I think that this is one of those well-rounded, pretty much will go with anything kind of bourbon. You know, this is one of those, you know, it's blended, right?
Yep.
So you're going to get the same product whether you buy it.
They've been making this for 60 years. The 101.
I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah, man. They've been making the 101 for 60 years, the same blend.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So, you know, they've pretty much mastered this blend at this point.
It's got a really good aroma to it.
It does.
I mean, it can be deceiving for the price, right? And we're led to believe a lot of times that in order to get something of good quality, you got to pay for it.
You got to pay money for it, right? Like you've got to pay an exuberant amount of money for it.
Right. And, you know, and so we're talking about, you know, $50+ at this point, right? And you know, and there are a handful of brands out there.
Yep, whiskeys and bourbons that are very good at that lower price point.
Yes, and this is one.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we'll get to some of the other ones, but you know, the Buff Trace and you know, Old Forester. I don't even know how you feel about Old Forester. Just
I'm
a regular,
fan. Like
just a regular
Old
100
Forester
proof.
is okay.
You know,
I'm gonna be completely honest. Regular Old Forester versus 101. I'm drinking 101.
The versus the Wild Turkey 101.
Yeah. I'm going to have the 101.
Okay. I can see that.
I just like the blended taste a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there are other Old Foresters that, you know, I'd pick up before.
But you got, you know, the standard Four Roses.
Yep.
Standards Makers.
Yep.
Which, personally, this one would be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like, to me, the Standard Makers is down there.
Yeah, it's a mixer for me. It's a mixer for me.
I think it's above a mixer for me, but it's still at the lowest end of the drinking it straight kind of. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
So, like, for me, if I was to rank, well, let's call them the big five, right? We never really gave them a name, right?
Here we go.
Well, the big five, right?
Okay.
So for me, if I start, I'm going to say Makers, right? And we're all talking about standard. I say standard, either the standard stuff or like their 100+ proof stuff, right? Because it's Old Forester has an 86, but we really mean the 100. And then I don't think Turkey does have something that's
they've
below
got a regular wild turkey.
right? They got an 80, 86 or something.
It's just
like
wild
that,
turkey.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
okay. Right. So regular old makers, Old Forester 100.
Good luck.
I'm stuck. I'm fighting between Wild Turkey 101 and Four Roses. I think Four Roses, then Turkey 101, and then
so
Buff
okay.
Trace.
I gotta ask. The list is going from least
least
favorite to favorite.
To yes.
All right. So you're saying Four Roses, then Wild Turkey 101.
Yes.
So that's 4.
And then Buff Trace.
Buff Trace. Okay. So almost everything you name there is under 100 proof.
Well, no. The Old Forester is 100 proof. The Turkey's 101. The other ones are.
Oh yeah, the other 3.
That's very true.
The other 3 are under
Even
100 proof.
the Buff Trace is under 100.
Yeah.
But it has a great flavor.
It does. It does. I found the other day, like as much of a fan of Buffalo Trace that I am, we're starting to drink stuff that's so much higher proof. Drinking the Buff Trace, even though it's very flavorful, was very, very, how do I say this? It was very mild.
Yeah.
Right? Like the flavor palette that I'm used to at this point.
So all 5 of those, you could say the same thing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I think that's why I stick to the 101, because of all of the things you just talked about, the 101 has the boldest flavor. It stands out the most. It has the highest proof.
Yeah.
So the flavor, as the proof rises, the flavor tends to go up a little bit.
I mean, I think for me, between the 5, even though I put them from say 5 to 1,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very close 5 to 1. You know what I mean? Like for me, the next one up, even though it's not one of the big boys, and is cheap, if you will, it is the standard High West bourbon.
Okay.
They recently, well, I don't know how recent they came out with it, but our local store, Red Hot, shout out to Rupin, they recently started stocking the 175 variety. Yeah. And it's $50. So it's a little bit more than your normal 175 of the other 5, but I think flavor-wise, it's so much better.
So I bump just a little more, and I go Woodford Reserve.
Yeah, but see, Woodford at a 175 is, I think, around $60.
Yeah, but I mean,
60, right? So I'm gauging. Even though we talk to people about this all the time, and they're like, "Well, you can't throw price in the mix." Of course you can. You have to throw price in the mix. Like you have to.
Right. Absolutely.
It is a huge factor. It's a huge factor. So, when I look at Woodford at 60, I think it's $60 for the 175. It's great. I love Woodford. Mm-hmm. I do. But it's still like $60 for the 175.
Yeah, but that's a big bottle.
It is a big bottle.
For someone who doesn't drink on a regular basis,
it is.
And even for someone who does drink on a regular, if you have as many bottles as like most of the people in our group do, like you're going to have that bottle for 6 months. Maybe longer.
Maybe. I feel like that, and I don't want to degrade Woodford at all, but even Woodford is decanter worthy.
Okay.
For us.
Yeah.
In our realm of bottles, on what shelf they go on, right? If we say bottom shelf for us, is decanter worthy, Woodford kind of goes down there.
Yeah, you're making us sound like real snobs.
I'm not.
Like
making us sound like
really snobs,
I'm trying
man.
really hard not to. Come on,
so,
man. I'm trying so hard to not make it sound like that.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to say about that. Like realistically, so Woodford is like bottom shelf. So that's what you said essentially.
Okay, so you tell, if you had 3 shelves at home, and and you've got Woodford, and you've got Buff Trace and Turkey 101, and you've got Long Branch and Four Roses, small batch, and you've got Cigar.
Yeah, but see, that's not the same.
Right.
So
I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm saying this is realistic stuff that you would have. Mm-hmm. Where in the 3 plate, Taylor, Eagle Rare, where in the 3 are you putting the Woodford? Standard Woodford. I'm not talking about double barrel.
Yeah. Double oak. I got
or
you.
double oak. I'm
I
not
got
talking about any of the other special stuff that they do. I'm talking about
Mhm.
standard, everyday Woodford. Where are you putting it?
You're right. It's in the collection that I have with the small amount of bottles I have in comparison. It's bottom shelf, but it's not bottom shelf in terms of taste. It's just in terms of
no,
other
not at
things
all.
that I also have to enjoy.
Like for us, when we say bottom shelf, it's still amazing.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit cheaper, not as complex, probably not as high proof, probably doesn't have a special finish to it.
Right.
You know, I mean, the Cigar rye has a very unique finish to it. And so, you know, it definitely goes at minimum in the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
So the Cigar rye for me it's one of my top shelf. Like,
I'm
and
just
it's
saying
because of how hard it is to get.
Right. At this point, you almost have to graduate it to the top.
Yeah. So
you know?
only certain people get to drink the Cigar rye. Like if you're not a person that enjoys bourbon whiskey, right? Because the Cigar rye is actually a whiskey, not a bourbon. So it's the first whiskey that we're doing on the podcast, and this is only episode 2.
Yeah.
But
so, you know, last time we talked about how we couldn't remember any whiskeys.
And this is
There's
one.
There's one right there. Yeah. So.
And so the Cigar rye is actually a little bit more expensive, right? So
yes,
it's going to be in that $75 price point.
Right.
Whereas the Wild Turkey 101 is going to be at a whopping $25 for this bottle and probably like 30.
I think it's 35.
35
for the
175.
Yeah, I think it's 35.
So
very affordable.
Very affordable.
You know, very good.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say to folks, like, don't relegate it. It's good for a mixer, but don't relegate it to a mixer. Right? I'm not saying that you can't mix it, but like don't discount it.
Right.
You can drink it straight.
I agree.
You know, as just
I am drinking it straight, like, and neat, right? Like, so I'm a neat drinker.
Right.
Yeah. For people that don't know what that means, it doesn't know what neat means. I drank my bourbon whiskey with nothing else in the glass. It's neat, right? So the only thing that goes in the glass is the bourbon or whiskey. Some people are on the rocks, folks, which means on ice.
Yep.
And then as far as, you know, of course, there's mixers out there that you can always place with your bourbon and whiskey. I don't know, for me in my household, it's like a cardinal sin. If you're going to drink one of my bourbons or whiskeys, you better not mix it with no Coke. Shout out Zoe. We fixed that problem. Right. We love you, brother.
And listen, I'll be honest with you, you know, for a while there, I would drink neat like at the lounge or neat my better stuff. But when it came to the Turkey 101, if I was at home,
you would mix it.
No, I would get a big cube and I would make a big 4-ounce pour in that cube, and I would sip on that over an entire cigar.
Okay.
You know, and so of course it started out, you know, mostly neat but cold, but by the time I was done, it was fairly diluted.
Right.
You know, and I did that quite often, but as time went on, I stopped doing that more and more, and I can't remember the last time I did that now. Like, it's been months. Honestly, it's been months. You know,
so I went to a award ceremony for one of my insurance carriers, and it was pretty funny because I asked for my Buffalo Trace. You know, it was the only bourbon that they had that I enjoyed. So I had Buffalo Trace, and I asked her if I could have it neat. She told me no. I said, well, why is that?
You can't just pour it in a glass without anything in it? Like, that's just, what, it's too hard?
She said, well, it wasn't too hard. It was just,
I mean,
at the rule for the event was that
you couldn't
drink neat. So she took one ice cube, dropped it in my glass.
How is that a rule?
Yeah, I don't know. But like, it's so I think it's to try to keep people from over drinking, right? But again, I'm one of those people that very much knows when to stop. Like, you know, I knew I wasn't staying where I was at, so you know, it wasn't like I was going to have a lot to drink. But I was so disappointed. And we do a ton of water.
That's why you drink water.
We do a ton of water.
And I mean, I guess I get it, right? There are people out there who don't know their limit. They don't know how to pace themselves, and a place like that doesn't want to hold themselves
responsible, right?
Right.
And being an insurance guy, I get it, right? Like, so
yeah, I mean,
the liability and all of those things that go along with it is a pain. You know, but shout out to all the folks watching the podcast. Drink responsibly,
please.
Right? So I know we're indulging in cigars and bourbon, but we want to make sure you drink responsibly, do the right things. But me, I'm pretty close to ready for my next pour. So what do you think about your cigar up to this point, man?
I mean, it's an age 99. Well, I don't even know what I can say, what more I can say than I haven't said so many other times before. You know, out there, you've got the T52 and the number 9, right? And I think most who like Liga will tell you that they will smoke them both.
Yes.
But most of them prefer one over the other.
Yes.
Right? And I am a T52 guy. I think you're a number 9 guy.
Mm-mm.
Are you a 252 guy?
I'm an H99 guy.
I'm saying about? Between the 9 and the T52.
Listen, 9 times out of 10, if you walk in and they got 9s, T52s, they probably got the H99 as well.
I know, but like it's a good question to ask folks.
I'm a 9.
Because
yes, I would probably enjoy it. I think the 9 is just a tad bit more stout.
It is.
So that's what makes me gravitate towards it.
But I feel like the H99 is a good merriment almost between the two.
Absolutely.
And you know, it gives me the things I love about the 9, but also the things I love about the T52.
Understood.
And
that makes sense.
I'm with you. If they have the 3 in the store,
I'm buying the H99.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. It's just it's smooth. It's silky. Like the smoke is very, very silky.
Right.
It's very flavorful. You know, I don't want to get into like the flavor notes because I don't do that, but
right.
The draw is impeccable.
I tell you, I just really, really enjoy these, man. Like,
smoke production is off the chain.
It's so hard to beat.
So, like, we talk about the Undercrown 10 a lot, you know, and it's one of our favorites, but this is one of those ones that just edges out on it, right? I think a little bit. It's not quite as strong and full flavored as that one, but this one is more refined.
Yes. I mean, it's
much
supposed
more
to be
balanced.
But it's supposed to be.
Right.
Right? So this is what you get when you move up to that next tier of cigar with Drew Estate, right?
That's
you want the refined flavors, you know, the construction, the good smoke production, you know, so all of those things are great. And I mean, you know, it's a phenomenal cigar any way you go about it. So you can never go wrong with the H99. That's just my thing, right? Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it.
And you know, they're if you find them for the price they're supposed to be, they're reasonably priced. I mean, this, you know, this is priced near a Padron, 1964.
Yeah,
you know, and so. And Padron, I love Padron. I mean, you know, we'll smoke a Padron for sure.
Absolutely,
you know,
without a shadow of a doubt. Maybe next up. No, not next episode. A couple episodes.
Somewhere along the line.
We'll get in there.
You know, we'll get into the Padrons, but you know, you cannot go wrong with a Padron. I mean, like the Damaso.
That's my joint. Like, and it's a Connecticut wrapper.
It is. It's probably the lightest Padron out there.
It's probably the lightest cigar I smoke. Like, let's be real.
Which is saying something, because it's lighter.
Yeah,
but definitely not.
No, it's still, like, for me, a Damaso is a first stick. Like, it's not. I don't find it full body.
You know, a year ago, I wouldn't have heard you say that a stick was your first stick. So what's the deal with that?
So I smoke a lot more than I used to, right? That's the bad part. I definitely smoke. Yeah, man. Like, you know, it's an expensive hobby.
Well, not if you buy from the right place, right?
You're not buying Damasos for $6 off of anywhere.
Well, okay, that's true.
Nor are you buying Liga Privadas.
No, that's true.
Or any of the other fine things that we indulge in. So my palate has definitely progressed.
But there are several everyday cigars that we really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we can get for very good prices.
Absolutely. You know, and we're going to bring all of those to the people so that they can test them out, try them out, give us their thoughts on them, and let us know what they think as well.
Yep.
But, you know, for me, like, yeah, my palate has changed in the last, I'd say, 2 years substantially.
So, I don't know that I've ever asked you this, but when did you, I guess, let me ask 2 questions. When did you have your first cigar where you return, like it became a regular thing, and then when did you up your game to where you were, say, smoking several in a week, right? Because I think for most, when they start smoking, it's one, a few a month,
So
right?
I would say like,
but when did you start smoking? Like,
God, so I'm probably like 6, 7 years into the journey at this point, right? So started smoking with a friend, Corey.
okay.
I was smoking. Unfortunately, at the time, I had a bad habit. I was smoking cigarettes.
A lot of cigar smokers start,
right?
They started
Corey
with
was like, "Man, you got to cut that out. Like, get you on these cigars." Like, all right, I'll try it. And I couldn't tell you what cigar he gave me that we tried out. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was a Macanudo, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think it was a Macanudo.
Okay. But it was an experience.
Yeah. Right. But it was more about the experience than the enjoyment of the cigar at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was about hanging out with a friend, doing something that he enjoyed. And at that same time, we were probably drinking a little bit different at that time too. Right. Like back then, our thing of choice would have been like Crown XO. Right. So I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's one of the better Crowns, but it's very different than what we would drink today.
Right.
So, and now, like, what changed? I would say a group of friends.
Like, where did you? So 6 or 7 years ago, you kind of had your first cigar.
Yeah.
But when did you make it a kind of regular hobby, I guess?
So I would say it became a regular hobby when I started living in Florida, because I was really close to Tampa and Ybor City.
Yeah.
Which, if you know anything about Ybor, there's and Tampa, there's cigar lounges everywhere, right? Ybor, there are, you got J.C. Newman down there,
yes,
who's the oldest cigar manufacturer in the United States. So like, it's just a thing now.
And they just renovated their place down there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just
tours and all that.
So being in Florida, enjoying cigars, it grew a little bit because it's always warm, so I could step out on the back porch, smoke,
nice weather,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I would say that, but then when we came back here to Tennessee, and ultimately I found OCL, a lounge that just made me feel like it was my second home. Like, that's when the number of cigars I started smoking really went up, right? Because I found a group of people I like to be around, and we all had this common thing, whereas in Tampa and Ybor, I would just pop in when I was in the area.
You're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say that's really when it changed. And what was the big defining moment is finding a group of friends in a place where I enjoyed smoking. So for me, what about you?
I had my first cigar. I actually do remember my first cigar. We were living here, in Cleveland, and I don't remember why, but I got a wild hair, and was like, hey, I want to go visit the local cigar shop, and at the time that was Burns over. I know, right?
No comment.
It was Burns over on Shallowford. So that's, what do they call that? I think that's Burns East is what they call it.
Yeah. Well, it's the only one now.
It is the only one now, but at the time they still had one downtown Chattanooga.
Yes.
And I went in there and just the worker, that there was nobody there, no other customers or whatever. So I went in there and I told the guy, I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm interested in trying a few cigars.
Okay.
And, so I was like, I've never smoked cigars before, so I have no idea about any questions you may have. And I bought 3 cigars, and he sold me, of course, just a cheapo little plastic cutter. And I think he gave me a box of matches. I don't. So I remember 2 of the cigars, but for whatever reason, I can't remember that dang third cigar. Like, even to this day, I cannot remember what that third cigar was. But
that means it probably wasn't very good.
It probably wasn't. So he sold me the first one was a Romeo and Juliet. I don't remember what variety it was, but it was a Romeo.
God, that's good.
The second one was a Fuente Hemingway, and then of course the third one I don't remember. The Hemingway was the first one that I tried, and I instantly was like, I love this. I smoked it on my porch out of my apartment, and I remember smoking the Romeo and not liking it as much, and then of course the third one, of course, whatever that was, and I went back and just bought a few more things to try, and of course I'm buying singles at retail, so it's pricey,
right?
And that's kind of when I started my cigar journey. So this was 2012, right?
Gotcha.
So this is just over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I started after that little stint, I started going to the cheapo stuff, right? To start trying like I did like factory throwouts and seconds, and just trying whatever. And then I found websites where you could get samplers.
Just smoking anything you could pretty much get your hands on.
Yeah, just smoking anything.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out there. It can be overwhelming. One of our friends, Chris, he was like, I don't know what to try. At this point. And I love being someone that people can come to where they can be like, okay, here's the 3 or 4 or 5 things that I really like.
Yeah.
What else can I try?
So I find that
like spit, bam, bam, bam.
With our group, that's becoming more and more of a thing, right?
It
like
is.
Because with our group, they know, we've got a very long track record, right, within our group of trying a lot of cigars. Like
that's right.
A ton.
Yes.
So we tend to be able to make really good recommendations. And again, so here's the thing with that is everybody's palate is different. So what I like, you may not like, but I can at least tell you what I like and why I like it, right? So I think that,
but here's the
that
thing.
helps.
So I've tried a lot.
Yeah, you have.
And there might be things out there that I don't like, but I know what they taste similar to. And so it can be like oh, well, I like this. And it's like, okay, well, you'll probably like this. It's not for me, but it's similar to that one that you like. So why don't you go try that? But to answer the question of like when I got big, like really big into it and really dove into it, I want to say it was 2014. And that's when I got my first little desktop, little humidor. The wife got it for me. She bought me that and then a combo cutter lighter, for, I don't know, it was Christmas, Father's Day or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I actually still have all of that original stuff.
Okay.
I'm not using any of it, but I still have it just for sentimental value. It's the first little thing that I had. And, from that point, you just start exploring more and more and more. And, at one point I found Cigar Bid. That place was dangerous.
Yeah.
It really was.
But now the place that you use now is even more dangerous.
I mean, yeah, in some cases it is. It's a little bit more controlled. Cigar Bid was truly a bid site. And so, there was the whole like thrill of trying, to
beat out somebody else and win.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get something for the cheapest price,
yep.
As a bid, just like on eBay, right? There's a thrill for people on eBay or, there's other bidding sites out there. But there's a certain thrill for bidding. But with Cigar Page, there's no bidding. And so with them, it's about being patient, waiting for the sales.
Right.
And, so if you don't know, cigarpage.com, that's a lot of these little stickers you see right here. They do a lot of the I'm gonna say under Liga type cigars, so not this high end, but they do stuff from this point under for incredible pricing.
Yeah.
And you just have to be patient.
Wait for that specific item you want to roll around on the sale, and when it does, boy, it's a whopper.
Listen. How about yesterday, the day before, I was smoking an Oliva Master Blends 3. That blend came out in 06. Okay, it's actually on the box. It's the only reason I opened the box, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's right, this came out in 06.
Okay.
The first time I had that cigar, I got it on a cigar sprint on cigars.com, where you essentially watch the cigar price go down and then eventually somebody will say buy it, and they get it for that price.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to, like, you know, it's like the little yodeler guy on Price is Right, you know, kind of like like that, right? So I don't remember what price I got it for, but that was the first time I had it. I loved it, and from that point on, I think I've always had master blends in my stock.
I got you.
It's literally up there with the New World Cameroon for me.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's my go-to everyday stick, the New World Cameroon.
Like for me, those two they're neck and neck.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, so
I do want to say, make sure to shop at your local brick and mortar.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Like,
and we
keep
do
those small businesses
Yeah.
going, right? They make your community strong, and a big part of what we do is about community, right? Like,
That's right.
So,
yeah, I mean, we both have memberships at OCL.
Yeah.
You know, so we guarantee that we're going to spend, you know, that money at the store, and in most cases we end up spending a little more than that. You know, so but before I forget, back to the Master Blend story. I was looking through another site, literally like just a day or two ago, and I come across Oliva Master Blends 3.
Okay.
And I'm like, I wonder what they're selling for these days. I click on it. Take a guess. This is the torpedo. So this is like a, you know,
a little bit bigger than what you normally get.
No, it's like a 6x52. I don't know, something like that, right? I'm guessing, but that's about what it is.
$9?
Dude, no, that is not retail. I couldn't believe how much. Like, it's been so long since I've been in some of these stores that sell everything, but the last time I was in a store and saw Master Blends, it was $12.
Wow.
That was years ago.
So we're not going to tell people
I'm not
what
telling
you're paying for.
No.
Because
just go
look yourself.
You just go look yourself and you'll find them. It was $16.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
Wow. And again, it's a good cigar, but it's not that good.
Cigar, but it's not $16. I'm sorry. I love you, Oliva, but
whew, man.
And what I'm getting them for.
Yeah, we can't talk about that though. We can't talk about that. We're not going to mention that.
We're not.
If you do your own research, you do your own research.
Just go look yourself.
But yeah, wow, $16.
You know, so I'm saying all of that to say that two things really. One, you don't have to pay a high price to get a good cigar. Okay.
So don't you have an interesting story about like the blender for this cigar specifically though?
I mean, there is yes. So I think you're talking about the whole story around the Underground brand.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I forgot we talked about it briefly.
So short version, when Drew Estate started back in 99 or 98, whenever they started, you know, their thing was infused cigars. They don't like to say flavored, so infused. And so was the acid line, right? I mean, that was, you know, and they've had other brands come and go. And, you know, they've got the Isla del Sol and the Ambrosia and plenty of others. And I'm not even going to remember them all because there's a ton.
Right.
But their first foray into the traditional cigar was the Liga.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they went from infused to Liga.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's news to me. First and foremost, I didn't know that, but that's news to me. All right, so get back to the story. I'm just kind of mind blown with that.
So, you know, I want to say it was the number 9 was first. But as you probably well know, on these cigar factory rolling floors, the rollers, I mean, they're pretty much allowed to smoke whatever they want, whenever they want, however much they want, you know, whatever, right?
They got access to it.
Right. So the Drew Estate rollers, when they came out with a Liga, what do you think they're smoking?
Liga. I would.
They're smoking Ligas.
I mean, if you give me access to it and tell me I can have as much as I want, like, yeah, I'm absolutely going to smoke the top line.
They're smoking the crap out of Ligas.
Right.
And so, you know, and for those of you who don't know, I don't think this one specifically, but the 9, and I'm pretty sure the 52 as well, uses a Connecticut broadleaf, which is incredibly hard to grow.
Got to have a specific environment for that to work.
Well, it grew in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, or Pennsylvania. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's a Pennsylvania broadleaf. And so, you know, there are videos out there that you can go look up, you know, where the Drew Estate guy or the farmers out there talking to you about, you know, how hard it is to grow and that they only get the top leaf is the wrapper. Everything else is used for something else, right? So it's just incredibly rare leaf. And so, you know, the Drew Estate execs are like, listen, you guys are smoking too many Ligas. You got to stop.
Calm down.
Calm down.
Get it together.
Yeah. No more smoking of Ligas, right? Right. And so the floor said, okay, well, we'll just blend something else with some of the lower primings.
And that's how we get
the Undercrown Maduro. Blended on the factory floor.
Yeah.
That was not made by a master blender. That was not made by Willie.
And now, you know this how, though?
I mean, they Drew Estate will tell you the story.
Okay.
I mean, the Undercrown 10 is a celebration of the release of the Undercrown Maduro. So they're all about telling the story about how this thing was born on the factory floor. That's one of their little quotes or whatever. Born on the factory floor.
And that's why I love like having you on the podcast, right? Because like you can give us some of these things that are just crazy stories, right? Like you've done so much with different cigar events and going to different events and smoking different cigars. That like
it's a great story. I love the story.
Yeah.
And if you get a chance, we will eventually smoke the Undercrown 10. But there is a box called the Factory Floor Edition, and it's a special box. And in that box, you get man, I wish I could remember what they call them, but they're rough,
smaller.
They're rough,
yeah,
smaller cigars. And I've only ever gotten one box, and I think I've got like 3 or 4 of those little rough ones left. And it's interesting because what they did is they roll the entire cigar. It's a little bit smaller ring gauge. I want to say it's like 45.
Yeah.
But the whole cigar is one component of the UC10.
Yep.
And so there's 3 different cigars, and all they did was put a little ribbon on it to tell you what it was, right?
Yep.
And so they put 4 of each of the 3 in the box with the box of UC10s.
Yep. Yeah, because you let me try one.
And that's right, I did.
You let me try one.
And it's just interesting because this is the stuff that they're smoking on the factory floor. The guys on the floor are rolling these things rough, and they're lighting them up right then and there. And it's just a really interesting story, you know. Speaking of interesting stories, so back during COVID, right? Wonderful time. Everybody remembers COVID. So Drew Estate, of course, pre-COVID and even now, they do store events.
Yeah.
But during COVID, they stopped the in-person store events, and they were doing virtual events. And you could sign up for them. And it was nothing more than a Zoom call. And so, you know, they would have some rep or, you know, somebody Drew Estate, you know, related, be the person that was the I don't know what you want to call it, I don't want to say the star, the guest.
The guest host.
Right. The guest host. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And so, you know, the host store would, of course, host the event, but then you had this like guest host from Drew Estate. And I used to sign up for these things and a lot of times just go in there and listen. And there was rarely a whole lot of people in there. And one time I'm in there, there was like maybe 6 or 7 of us in there, and it was really cool because Willie was in there. Willie Herrera, master blender for Drew Estate. And it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. We're all smoking, chatting, whatever. And we start doing some one-on-one conversations. And I actually got to have a one-on-one conversation with Willie Herrera.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, right. So you and I went to the Barn Smoker.
Absolutely.
He was there.
It was a blast. And he was super cool, man.
Yeah,
like,
and you could ask him questions, but it still wasn't like
intimate. It wasn't individual. It wasn't intimate.
That's right.
Because there were so many of us, right?
That's right.
This event had
got
1,000 people.
This was like super intimate, right? And I actually had a question on mine to ask him, and I'm like, Willie, there's this video that plays at our local shop, and it shows varying parts of making a cigar, right? And this one part shows this tube with a gauge on it, and the person takes an unlabeled cigar, and it looks like it's completed, and they stick it in there, and it like sucks it in, and it like spits it out.
Pause.
And the little the little gauge like sucks it in, pauses, and spits it back out, right? And the little gauge does something, whatever. And I'm like, I've asked people what that is, and no one knows what it is. I'm like, what is that? He knew immediately what it was. Of course he did. It's Willie Herrera.
Right. He's supposed to know.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, that's part of the QA process. It's testing the draw of the cigar. You do that individually?
Perdomo does as well.
He says they all do it. Like, pretty much all the manufacturers out there do it.
That's crazy.
One at a time. They put it in this little tube thing, and it like
sucks it in. Say,
spits back
thousands of hands touch your cigar before.
So Caldwell
was it hundreds?
So Caldwell has a cigar called 300 Manos, which is hands, 300 hands. Their thing is that 300 hands touch a cigar. There are tons of discussions out there about how many hands touch a cigar.
Again,
so
when we start talking about that, it worries me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm a germaphobe, right? And so 300 hands on my cigar before I smoke it kind of weirds me out. But listen, I love cigars so much.
Some germs are healthy.
Hey, but again, hopefully they all die before they get to me. Right. But I totally enjoy it. But yeah, that part of it.
It was really cool to just get him to come to him with some random question that it's probably been not asked that often.
Right.
And he's able to have a conversation about something he probably doesn't get to discuss that often, because you can imagine that Willie Herrera probably talks about the same stuff over and over and over. Yeah. I'm sure it gets tiring.
Yeah.
So this was something different where he's like, and so, immediately he engaged, right? He was excited to talk about it, and so, I was able to, of course, share that story with other people, and I hate that they don't do the virtual events anymore, because they were kind of intimate.
Yeah.
But I get it, that
it's time consuming, man.
Well, and then there's not a whole lot of people
that show up to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there were people who didn't even turn on their video, which I get it. Sometimes I didn't turn on my video, but it was always interesting to listen in on just a discussion.
Right.
So I encourage you that if you like Drew Estate at all, go on their website. They have a thing on there about their events, and it's all about store events. But try to find an event that's close to you, and just go check it out. I mean, you don't have to buy a box. The last event we went to was at Burns, right here in Chattanooga,
and buy what you can afford.
I think we each bought a cigar.
Yeah. Pedro was there, right?
Pedro was there.
Event.
Yeah, Pedro was there.
Drew Estate, and he is a phenomenal guy. He will talk to you.
Pedro
he talks to everybody that walks in the building. He will give you his time. He will give you his knowledge. He'll enjoy, a bit of a sip of something with you when he has a chance.
He has a passion.
Yes,
and he has a positive attitude, just like no other.
It's infectious, right? Like when you get around him, like you just kind of get happy, right? Like to be around a person like that just enjoys the culture so much.
And if you ever get around him, ask him his origin story.
Yeah.
He loves sharing his origin story. He came from nothing.
Right.
I mean, he was a saddle maker at one point. And he thought that that's what he was going to do with his life. And, obviously he's not now, but he has a passion.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, it's infectious, like you say.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so we need our second pour.
Well, I've already had my second pour, and we've got probably 5 minutes left, 5-10 minutes left. So you go ahead and get your second pour. He's playing catch up.
I am playing catch up.
I just want to tell everybody, listen, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast, man.
Please.
Please make sure you do so. Or dislike, right? If you hate what we're doing, tell us. Let us know, man. We're grown. We can take it. We got thick skin. I'm a New Yorker. Down here in the South, but I got thick skin. I can take it. Yeah, it's phenomenal, man.
It's been a minute.
It's phenomenal, dude.
It's been a minute.
Well, again, I pulled that one out the stash because for the longest I wouldn't even I wouldn't open it because I went through 3 bottles.
Let me tell you something. The aroma on this, it's like you're sitting with your buddies beside a campfire.
Absolutely. Do you remember the first time we had it?
I know. You know, having a cigar, and you're getting the whiffs of the campfire. You know, you're getting the whiffs of the cigar, and I mean that man.
So for those that don't know, the first time that we had the Buzzard's Roost cigar rye, we had just come back from the barn smoker in Kentucky for Drew Estate.
That's right.
Lupin had dropped the bottle.
That's right.
I went by and got it.
Oh my!
Cracked the bottle, and I smoked it, or I drank it with a Kentucky Fire Cure.
Yes.
And I was
that
like,
was a
dude,
combo, right?
I was like, I feel like I'm right back at the barn smoker. Right back at the barn smoker.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're running short on time. What else do we want to tell the people before we get out of here?
I did want to mention that we've got it on the floor here. The Buzzard Roost has they've got a barrel strength straight rye whiskey that I don't know for sure, but I'm fairly certain is the base.
We think it's
for
the
this.
base for that,
yeah.
right?
So this is probably a little easier to find.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so don't be scared by the barrel strength or the rye part of it.
Yeah.
It is very good, very approachable. Want to say it's about the same price point as the cigar rye. I think it's about 60, 65.
But cigar rye is a little bit more.
Is it?
Yeah, it's about $75.
Okay. You know, so still somewhat approachable.
Yeah.
I would definitely welcome you to try it. This is a little bit higher proof, 113, this particular one. But yeah, I mean, definitely give it a try.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that, I guess we should wrap this thing up, right?
Yeah, we'll finish this cigar, hang out a little bit more, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm Duran.
And I'm Jason, JB Smoke. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely.